Hello. Today we are gonna be reading the Fear Garden AU. So for this, I'm gonna only react to two chapters, and after that I react to more. Or it's most likely to be reading. So like and subscribe. So let's go. Oh, late into the afternoon, leaves gently fluttered through the air. That sounds nice. Royal City, an abandoned place lingering with mystery and nostalgia. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Yet a few objects were vacant in the city, both eliminated. Though they were in the tiny loser chamber, feel pity. So they're feeling guilty since they're eliminated, like the recommended the characters that weren't in the show, and some eliminated ones. Okay, and those who were still competing. They all wandered freely, exploring the city and the wonders behind it, or they stayed and did all their daily chores, such as gardening, of cleaning up their area of stay. They kept themselves busy each and every day that passed. Okay, that sounds interesting. The royal needy stood high in the air, with the cage swaying gently from side to side. That sounds interesting. Fiery is sitting inside of it and screaming at the top of his lungs. Oh, well, yeah, since he has the fear of heights, so whenever he's like really up high, he screams at the top of his lungs. He's like, yeah, that's how he screams. Lol. A strange yet clever punishment given to him by the free smarters. Typical. Yeah. Everything was going as usual as it was. The free smarters strolling through the city and soon heading towards the royal needy. Fries was occupied tending to his potato garden, while a few others hung around to keep him company. So Fries was basically like uh, gardening potatoes since he had only one singular fry in him. Queenie and Nickel chatted with Fries about the day and the chilly temperatures it brought while the scientist duo were fixing the wall teleporter they brought from the museum. Everyone was busy with their day. Oh, like Mr. Nerdball and Miss Nerdball. I call them Nerdball since they are pretty nerdy and intelligent, like a lot. Except one. In the far outskirts of the city was a luminescent garden overflowing with life and glowing with beauty. That sounds interesting. Wow. Ever since they all arrived there, she found the spot to be perfect for her garden. Is that Pin? Pin! I love Pin. She my favorite character. Years of hard work has brought her such a lively and stunning garden. Though it was not sure how she felt. Well, I did take years if IDFP was created in 2016 and ended in 2016 because it only has one mm, mm, flipping episode. The owner of the garden, Pin, she was pacing back and forth, her arms and hands trembling and her breathing heavy and anxious. Her arms and hands trembling. Well, yeah, because her arms and hands and legs and feet were just created by golf ball since golf ball made prosthetic limbs for her. The garden used to produce such a soft and soothing feeling to Pin that would usually help her calm down in moments like these. She wasn't someone who would get scared easily. No, she was loud and proud, a true leader at heart, but still leaders do fall apart at times, and they need a moment to recollect themselves and fix up their mistakes. But Pin was falling apart. Well, yeah, I'm gonna spoil this a little bit. So basically, in her nightmares, eat a part of her mind. So yeah, a small spoil. What? A few weeks back, a heathenish nightmare woke her from her peaceful slumber. She was standing in front of her garden, feeling strangely jubilant and powerful, such as a queen preparing for a celebration. The sky was as red as blood. What? With dark, gloomy clouds drifting slowly through the heavy air. That gives me Sonic.exe vibes. Amogus. Okay, no more memes. So, let's see. Yeah. In her hands was a small cracked pot with dirt and a few small seeds inside. Also, in the middle of those contents stood a hand. Bro, bro was not prawn ready for this. A cold, lifeless hand with drops of blood on the sides. Wrapped around the wrist was a small tag, which once had a name scribbled onto it, but was soon drenched in blood, with grains of dirt on the top. Let me guess. Was it Coiny? Around the garden there was a dark and heavy fog, though as Pin approached it vanished, revealing a garden of pure hands. Hands that have been removed from their owners. Lifeless fingers dangled downwards like a weeping willow's branches as the bodies of the owners of the hand were placed in multiple areas of the garden. Small tombstones were placed next to the corpses, revealing their names and what their purpose in the garden is. Pin walked through the garden, reading all of the small tombstones. What? Flower brings a bit of beauty to the garden. Rocky, a stool. Match helps let the plants go upright instead of slouched. She continued making her way through the garden until she arrived to a small corner with a hole buried into the dirt. The tombstone beside the hole gleamed with the dark sunlight that hit it there. It read the name. So does that mean that in Pin's nightmare, her Coiny was a dead corpse? I think that in this comic, there are also the Fear Garden also had like even legs of lifeless bodies. Pin's eyes snapped open as she jolted upright from her bed, letting out a startled gasp. Her face was pale and flushed, beads of sweat dripping down her face. Her eyes were bloodshot, and soon they began to fill with tears. She breathed quickly as she looked around the small room. Wait a minute. So, Pin woke up from that nightmare. Beads of sweat. Well, Pin is basically a pinch, and in PFDI 2, Pin said that Pin's sweat ooze, not water. So she was all oozing around. Okay, that wasn't funny. Darkness stuffed the entire room. The only light coming from the moon outside the room was cool, as if the nightly autumn air was giving her a loose hug. The door stood slightly ajar, revealing the darkness of the hallway, where another door could be seen. The slow ticking of the clock was the only thing that broke the silence of the night. Okay? She gently got out of the bed and left her bedroom, her hands still trembling. So her hands were like shaking and cold to the touch. So her hands were like really, really cold as ice. Okay, she walked down the hall and soon was standing in front of an orange colored door. Was it A? So it is supposed to be Anne. not A. She hesitantly wrapped her hand around the knob and turned it, opening the door gently. As it opened, she took a peek inside to the object underneath the covers of his bed, letting out loud snores, like this. Yeah, that echoed in the room. It was Coiny. So Coiny was like alive because it was just Pin's imagination. He was fast asleep, his arms wrapped around one of his pillows. A few wrappers from candy he found in the city light around the room, as well as a few other pieces of in quotations treasure he found. It was odd, seeing such a disheveled mess like this coming from him, but he'll clean it up soon. Pin stood there for a moment before slowly shutting the door and letting out a deep sigh of relief. Well, that's nice. She trudged back to her bedroom, convincing herself that it was just a crazy dream and that it wasn't real. But why couldn't she fall asleep afterwards? Why did the same nightmare reoccur again 2 weeks later? The nightmare continued to rise repeatedly, and every day it ate away inside Pin's mind. That's what I said a few seconds or minutes ago. It got so bad to the point where she couldn't even wake up. She finally stopped pacing around the garden as she plopped down on her knees on the soft bed of soil. When she took a long breath and looked around at her garden. Okay, she mumbled. Whatever. The dream it isn't real. It's just a dream. She looked up. It's just fake. It's not real. It won't happen. I'm trying to, I was trying to imitate Pin's voice. Okay. She hesitated towards the end of her sentence. Many questions still lingered in her mind. Why hands? Why the bodies? Why not just plants? She sighed and stood up as she began to walk back towards the city. I just hope that I can get sleep tonight, she whispered under her breath. Continued to the next part. Sleep paralysis. So basically, sleep paralysis. Okay, I'm gonna end here because why not? Next part coming soon.